Good evening. Welcome to another edition of African Americans Ain't Africans, the think tank that shows without a doubt that the African American didn't find his way to America in the trunk of a ship. I'm your host, the Indigenous one. With all this stuff going on with COVID, all these scare tactics they're using these scare tactics to lock us down into not thinking about anything. That these people have a power over you that you don't have of yourself. Tonight we got a sister here that's going to quash all that stuff with some common sense thinking, a little reading, and some things that you can do for yourself. Tonight we welcome Chief Bluefeather, Chiefess Bluefeather. What's going on, sister?
Hey, Halito. Osada Nagata. What's up, family?
We're talking about these vaccines that they are trying to give out, and they're trying to scare our people into taking.
Yes.
In your earlier, when you were talking about earlier, and I want you to put this in a way that the people can understand it. You say that we're at home wherever our feet touch the ground.
Yes.
Could you elaborate on that a little bit? Because I want the audience to understand that this is who you are talking to. These are the people that you're talking to.
Yes. Where our feet touches the soil, where it touched the ground. That was a phrase that my husband, Eagle Eye, Spirit put on him a few years ago. That wherever we are home. You know, and our service begins where our feet touches the soil here on the ground. And as Indigenous people, we have to realize that the things that are happening around us, to us, over us, under us, it's in our house. If anyone has a big mama or a great grandmother or even a mama or, you know, one of those feisty aunties or uncles, you understand that there are certain protocols how to behave in your house, you know. And in our house, we have to make a stand that in our house we're not going to tolerate any more homicidal, genocidal, maniac plans to exterminate us and get rid of us in our house, where people from around the world have whacked fat off of us and have benefited from our nationhood and the things that we as a people have produced for the world. And it's time. We have a very unruly guest of people and a host of people living in our house that don't respect us. So now you're going to tell us that we're not going to feed you food from the table that we created, or we're not going to give you access to travel on the roads that belong to us, because we want to force you to mandate or to force you to take chemicals and things into our system that we are now becoming more cognizant that are to sterilize us, to change us genetically, and to basically to wipe out generations before our generations are even born. So as American Indians and the Aborigines of the land and the Indigenous people, we are the caretakers of our house, and we have to take care of all that is alive in our house and our generations. And, you know, it's always known that as, you know, leaders within our own communities and with our own homes and where our feet touches the soil, we're supposed to think into 7 generations. So we have to make moves to think ahead. We can't just think about now. So when they're trying to coerce us and throw us little crumbs and forcing us through money and jobs and things like that, and I know these things are difficult decisions to make, but we can't make decisions just for now, because this protocol, the dissemination of this protocol, has far-reaching effect that they have planned for a very long time, to put a stoppage to us being to procreate and to continue as creators to create life in our house. So we have to do something about that.
So I just want to make that point clear, because I wanted the people to see that how you just said that The light, you can't even create in your own house. And that's very important. And I think with this circus that's going on, we have to know these things that we're being tricked into. Uh, Protections against genocide. What are some of the protections that are already on the books where we don't have to participate into this genocide?
Yes. And I see we got Brother Shadow is on the line, so I know he can help. Also contribute to some knowledge, information on that as well. First and foremost, we have to start with the root of who we are. We are indigenous people. If that's the term that they use. I don't get too much caught up in terms because we're all of that. But as American Indians, we are quote unquote the indigenous of our land. So first of all, we do have indigenous rights. We have rights under international human rights treaties that the United States is a party to and responsible for implementing and enforcing here in the United States. There's a subcommittee. A Senate subcommittee on the Constitution that's actually chaired by Senator Cruz, and one of their tasks is to implement and enforce human rights.
So what does that mean for the indigenous people?
107, which 98. Yeah, can you hear me? I'm sorry.
You kind of blacked out there for a minute.
Oh, okay. I was just speaking on the international human rights treaties that the United States is part and partial to, which means all of its so-called political subdivisions are responsible for implementing and enforcing those treaties. So it's important to know what those treaties are. We also have rights under the American Declaration on the Rights of Indigenous People, and it speaks clearly about genocide, that we can object and will not be the object of genocide. Um, it also speaks about our health and how we have a right to our health practices and to be informed. A key thing for us to hopefully to walk away from tonight is to know that prior informed consent is very, very important dealing with any type of medical procedure, anything that is going to be done to your personal body. You have a right to informed consent. This right is covered nationally and internationally, and under the Geneva Convention and through the Nuremberg Code. And under the Nuremberg Code, we are not supposed to be coerced, put under duress, or by force or overreaching activities to try to force a vaccination. Because in reality, even a patient that is deathly ill has a right to refuse medication. A patient can refuse a surgery, even if it means their life, unless they're totally mentally incapacitated. If you have your cognition and you have informed consent and you have been given information to show the good and the bad, because doctors, medical personnel take a Hippocratic oath, and number one is to do no harm, and they also are lawfully liable, that when you invoke your right, because you need to invoke it, when you invoke your right to informed consent, they have to give you, and they're supposed to give you the good and the bad. They cannot withhold the information. They're supposed to tell you both sides of the coin. Therefore, because that's what informed consent means, because consent could just mean I'm gonna do, okay, yeah, I give you my yay or I give you my nay, but informed consent means I have information to go by. So if they're only giving you one side of it, that means that's not a real full informed consent. That's a biased opinion. So informed consent is critical. It is protected under international law, and that's for anybody.
For Colin. He likes red.
It seems like with these vaccines, they're trying to lock us down with these vaccines. What is such the push with the vaccines?
I just think it's the overall protocol of it's worldwide, and I just think that there's a move for for this new world order. and to put people in spaces where people can be controlled in movement. So we go in the house, we're social distancing, we're wearing masks. Now you're promoting fear among people, even though we have not had a clear definition of what's really going on. Of course, this does not. It's interesting because while they're having their constitutional war over this election, I think what they got cases now going on because the states have, changed laws midstream before the election. Well, I believe it was the WHO or CDC. They changed the definition of the pandemic right before it happened. So how you gonna change the definition of something to make it fit? So these things are becoming very obvious, that they changed the definition of a pandemic. Um, they're showing that the pandemic is so-called in the height of it, but we're in the height of cold and flu season. I mean, we just have to use some common sense on these things. And you also have medical professionals and doctors who are actually risking their own lives to come forward because they believe in their oath of office, right? Police take oath of office, teachers, judges, political figures, doctors, medical personnel, they take oath of office. If they really believe in that oath, those doctors and personnel, they're coming forward and they're really doing their best to come forward to tell the public that this thing is not right, and they're being censored. So um, we got a lot of things layered that's going on, and we just have some real wicked, evil people that are beings behind this whole movement, and it's been planned for a very long time. But we're at the crossroads now, that it's just time for us as a people to take notice and take charge of our house. And it begins with our personal being and our bodies and our children. Now they got these fools out here creating laws where children as young as 11 can actually, take a vaccine without their parents' permission. What you mean? What do you mean a child can do that? So no, they can't. Not in our culture. Nobody's child really. I mean, the horrendous things that's been going on in this country and around the world dealing with human trafficking, child pedophilia, and all the gross and just egregious violations to life that's been going on underneath our nose as a people. And we got to wake up and shake the stardust off and take the scales off of our eyes, and turn our focus away from bullshit, really. Arguments, diatribes, what's going on in the the Bollywood world or whatever, the media world, and let's get into the nitty gritty of what's happening all around us, because this thing is right underneath our nose. So if you don't take care of your house, guess what's going to happen? People will squat in your house and they'll take it. So we got to let these people know we have not abandoned ship.
That's right.
Squatters got to go, and we got to take charge of our personal space and our own personal bodies and the bodies of our children. Because I always say, if we're not doing this for our generations, we are wasting our time, because there will be no time without them.
Earlier, you mentioned the Nuremberg Trials, the Nuremberg Code significance. Could you tell us a little bit about the Nuremberg Trials and what that means and why we should know that?
Well, that is I'm gonna see if Brother Shadow can go into a little bit more detail about that, if he's willing to come on and talk about that. But basically, it's the fight against experiments, because we've had worldwide experimentations on people that have brought about genocide. I mean, we've had our own issues with that right here in America, dealing with the Tuskegee experiment, because that's one of the things that's listed in the National Institute of Health. As a researcher, when I was completing my doctorate, we have to take we have to actually go through a process of taking a course on how to protect the rights of participants, or so-called subjects, people that you want to enlist in a study, right? And that's where informed consent comes into play, and how you're dealing with vulnerable populations, pregnant women, children, people who are imprisoned, and things like that. So one of the cases that comes up, the Nuremberg Code is a part of having knowledge of that. And basically the root of that is the informed consent, that you just don't take advantage of the ignorance of someone or using force to force someone to knowingly cause them harm, and experimenting on them without their permission or without their informed consent, or basically doing harm to people when you know lawfully you're not supposed to. And the Tuskegee experiment was one of those events that was listed as a part of why these codes came about. So I don't know, Joe, the brother Shadow want to expand on that a little bit?
Chief, you hit it right on the head. The Nuremberg codes are to protect the human subject from enduring any type of cruelty and exploitation. They used it because of what was taking place inside of the concentration camps. And one of the most important pieces that you said is informed consent. Now, if you agree to let somebody experiment on you, God bless you, and I see you in the next life. But if we don't have the right to stand on informed consent, then we're all going to fall victim. And it doesn't matter if they're Indian or not. We're all going to fall victim, because one of the things that they're finding out, and you brought it up earlier about this vaccine, there's so many other elements to the vaccine because it hasn't truly been human tested for a long period of time. People with allergies, just think about this right now. Most of the Southern Indians have allergies during certain seasons. Guess what? They're going to be impacted by this virus that doesn't exist because they're not treating COVID. They're making some spike protein that will enhance whatever's going wrong inside of our body. And that's not informed consent. We don't have all the information to go against what they're trying to push on the public. Over.
I don't know how to do this.
What are some of the tactics being used, to get people? Because what I'm hearing from a lot of nurses are saying they're in the middle of losing their jobs, or they could lose their jobs. Are there remedies for this, or things they should know, for this? Because a lot of them are really spooked by this.
Yes, this is Blue Feather again. Yes, there are remedies for that. Um, Especially if they're in the medical field, informed consent is, you know, that's along with patient rights. I mean, patients are issued their Bill of Rights, right? When they're, if they're, um, if they have to go to the, even when you're just going to the emergency room, when you sign off on things, you sign HIPAA clauses, you sign off on it, that you received your patient Bill of Rights, and, or if you happen to have a hospital stay. So those are the ground rules right there. So if a place of business is trying to use the vaccine as a way of forcing their own employees, that's still violating the Nuremberg Code, because you're putting people under duress and forcing them to put something in their body. And one of the things that, the nurses would know is they have even better ammunition, because if you have the MRC5, or I forgot how to say that other term, but it's basically when you're putting a hodgepodge uh, of ingredients or chemicals and things together, and those combinations can cause even more harm to you, or out. Like, for example, UK came out with a report early this rising, where they're telling people who have allergies not to take the COVID because of the reactions that people are having who have allergies taking the shot. So people have jumped the gun on this thing, knowing that they haven't really knowing what's actually in this mess, in this cocktail, and people are already, showing, side effects and the signs of it. So they're already doing it. So as a nurse, you already, no one can force you to put a product inside of your body that's like telling somebody to take a gun and point it to your head and pull the trigger. And that's really much what you're doing when you're talking about, this little cocktail that they put together, the COVID-19 so-called vaccination for the people. And there is another term, and I did get this from Dr. Ali, when he did a he's kind of synthesized all the information about particularly how this vaccine will hurt us. But there was a term that I found very interesting is contraindication. Contraindication and precautions. Basically, a contraindication is basically, okay, it's like the vaccine will do worse than what you're giving the vaccine for. So that's like, so it's a contradiction. So, knowing those terms and knowing what's in it and knowing what these things can do, yes, you have every right to object to that, to decline taking that, because I know that there's a chance I can have these type of side effects. And they're talking about what, 70%? First they say 95% ago. I mean, I don't know what number to believe. So I mean, their statistics are wishy-washy because they're not telling people the truth of what has already occurred with people taking. I've heard of people dying. I've heard of say side effects. So I mean, this is just a botched scenario, and I guess they just thought people was going to stay stupid and sleep. But people are on the underground news, and people are paying attention and watching alternatives outside of the so-called mainstream. So people are becoming more informed, which is why they're having the resistance, and that's evident in the behaviors of what we're seeing, where you have a senator or a congressman offering or suggesting that they, link a stimulus payment to the vaccine. 1,500, knowing people out here are hurting and need the money. And then you have three diabolical presidents who call themselves taking the vaccine live. That's overreaching.
Mm-hmm.
You're playing on the ignorance of people and you're trying to coerce, and you're using, that's abuse of power,
That is an
actually.
abuse of power. It really is. Yes, it is.
So
It really is an abuse of power.
So I guess when we consider those elements, we have a lot to stand on. People, this is nothing. This is not a benevolent goodwill effort for the public, because they've been misleading us about the pandemic in the first place, and they're targeting um, communities of color, and you're targeting the medical personnel. I mean, it's a targeted event, and we have to think about this too. When you think about why so-called, like, they lumped everybody together, right? The Black, Latino, Indigenous community and the communities of color together. Well, we're already victims of medical apartheid in this country anyway. That statistic ain't nothing new, right? Aren't we the ones with highest mortality, infant mortality, especially like in the state of Georgia? Pregnant women, are at high risk in this state. Even white women, and of course women of color is double that or triple that. So I mean, the statistics of us having dying the most from COVID, okay, that is nothing new, because we experienced medical apartheid in this country. So they're playing on words and they're playing on statistics, again, without clear definitions, without explaining the statistics. Like right now, oh, COVID numbers are skyrocketing off the hook. Okay, but we're in the middle of flu season. So it's a lot of mind games, unfortunately,
The
that
truth,
they're playing.
Truth Seeker says Bill Gates and Anthony Fauci went to the same college. So this has been going on a long time. These ideologies are passed down to these Bill Gates and Fauci's and all these people. And isn't it about time we stop giving all our trust and loyalty to these people? Because I don't know about everybody else. I can see when they talk about us, I could see the disdain in their face for us. So isn't it about time that we stop letting these people dictate over our health and our lifestyles and the things that we're doing?
Yeah, but Bill Gates ain't even how about we address he's not a doctor? I mean,
You.
he's not a doctor.
Right.
Why do we believe somebody just because, see, but again, the ignorance of thinking that just because people have money, they're smarter than people who don't. No, maybe you're just a crook. I don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe you just know how to steal better. I don't know. But just because you have money does not constitute, that you're smarter than people. You may have a certain intelligence, but he's not a doctor. This man, first of all, I believe that there are some human rights cases against him already for the amount of children that are experimented on around the world using his vaccines. And there may be some countries where I believe he can't even return, but I don't remember what their names are, so I don't want to misspeak on it. But we can research and Google it where he can't even come back to the country. So why are we believing someone who is a so-called technology guru going to tell us about our health? Allegedly a technology guru, but look at him, like look at you. If they look, my thing is like this. I hate to be crass, man. They can take them vaccines shut up their ass. All of them can take it in the ass and go on over there to Epstein Island and have fun with each other. I don't know, but if y'all are so in depth about what we need to be doing, how about y'all just go ahead and take your little fake eugenics program. And I don't know, the last scene of the Avatar when they was getting on the ship, I don't know, gone somewhere. It's just time to kick rocks, stage left, exit. I don't know. Y'all don't care about us. So, I mean, all this money y'all spent for a vaccine, shoot, we could have had universal health care a long time ago. Prevention, intervention. It's a lie. It's a hoax. So,
So I mean, straight no chaser, y'all. Straight no chaser. What are some of the other things that we should be looking out for? I know you can have some documents that you have out that people, if you really think about it, and these documents back up what you were thinking and what you are needing at this time. Could you share those?
yes, I'm gonna make sure we post it tonight because we have brought it before the fire circle, before the ancestors, and we've actually created a notice of vaccination vulnerability protection order that will be disseminated to proper offices to give notice that we know that that we know y'all trying to kill our ass and we not agreeing with it in a nutshell. But of course, we use more eloquent speech. But basically, making a list of the past to present atrocities against us and the genocidal actions against us. And if Brother Shadow is still with us, I would love for him to read off that list of things because we've never really put our story together. But when you really follow the long list of atrocities that have been the genocide against us, we have our own Holocaust, and that's just the truth. Don't they? Folks be wanting to own the word Holocaust. Shoot, let's talk about our Holocaust.
Right.
So in this document, we basically cite the laws of ADRIP and international laws. We cite the Nuremberg Code, and that is to give notice. We've also created a an affidavit, which actually works both ways, an affidavit of cultural objection to the vaccination, because it's basically, lawfully putting on the record, I'm an American Indian, and I'm objecting. This mandated vaccination is a violation of my sacred rights as a natural being, as an indigenous person in this country. And on top of that, it violates my cultural rights to informed consent, because informed consent is in the ADRIP and UNDRIP as well. And then the other document that we're making available is that we just put together a one-page go-to sheet that just kind of helps um, define some terms at length so that you can just be equipped with knowing what informed consent means, what you can expect from anybody who's coming at you to try to force this thing on you, to put you under duress, coerce you, or force you, and what your rights are. And that anyone who does that can be held liable and will be held liable and lawfully accountable for violating your humanity, individually or collectively. So we had a beautiful sister elder that came on and talked about her cases that she has at the Inter-American Commission on Human Rights, and we need to be flood that organization with our petitions of violations against our rights to even exist as who we are, because this is a part of it. And there are really, some good brothers and sisters out there doing some work, and we just want to come collectively because this is a common ground for us now. We can put aside differences and say we have a common problem and a common enemy to us, and we need to respond accordingly.
So I have a couple of guests on the line with us. I have a couple more questions, but I just wanted to, share the mic with some of the people in the audience listening to us if they have any questions for you.
Okay.
Cool. All right.
What do I do?
Could you explain the MRC5 and that intragenic reaction? I think that's very important. Could you explain that? Hello? Oh.
Chief, do you want me to? She dropped? Okay. So MRC5,
yeah.
I can explain it. The MRC5 and what people don't understand is an aborted baby fetus from Europe that they have used to bring about these vaccines and tests as a human subject. But remember, it's from Europe. So 9 out of 10 times, it probably has nothing to do with the American Indian. So it probably will work against us because it's a different species of people.
Right.
One, the latrogenic reaction is the scariest part because, as I said earlier, it is a bunch of chemicals that are thrown together that we have no idea what it's going to do to our physical makeup as far as our DNA is concerned. One of the most important things, looking at what they're talking about doing using latrogenic reaction, is they're not synthesizing the COVID. They're synthesizing a protein, a spike protein. And if people knew what that really meant, you can Google African American or African, Asian, and Caucasian, and you'll find that African people do not generate spike proteins. But what this COVID vaccine, RNA vaccine, is going to do is going to generate more spike proteins in us. So that's going to cause some type of reaction. That's where the reaction and scary part is, because we don't know how it's going to affect us.
So that right there can be used as a push away. That's why you refuse to take the shot. Just what you said. So, I mean, I appreciate you sharing. I appreciate you sharing that, because these are the things we must know. And Chief, this Blue Feather, that's all you missed. He was just answering the question, and since you fell off, he picked up for you.
Oh yeah, that was perfect. But yeah, that was the word I was looking for. I couldn't remember how to say it, but that's specific. So like you said, we don't have to play Russian roulette with ourselves. That's what they want us to do.
Right.
We just have to say no. And it is scary. I'm not saying that it's not going to be challenging. I mean, we've been doing a lot of work, and people who've been working in Indian country to advocate for the rights of our people in whatever way that you've been doing, because I think any way that anybody's been doing what they're doing is good, because it is shooting arrows of resistance, right? So I don't believe there's any right or wrong way. It's as long as we're doing it in the perfect spirit of love and brotherhood and sisterhood for each other, it's righteous, right? Because your intention is what matters. If your intention is right and is righteous for the people, then it's right. So whatever arrows we can shoot, whether it's judicially, administratively, on an international level, petitions, lawsuits, giving notices, writing petitions to senators, the Congress, or whatever work that you're doing in advocacy, it's working and it's good, and we just need to keep it going, because it is a challenge. Of course, they're going to fight back, because they want to keep reminding us that they're, they are like they are mama and dad. You ain't my mama.
Right.
You ain't my daddy. I'm
Right.
sorry, we're the root of the tree of America. No matter how many branches and leaves may have been added to our tree or stolen in what you call the identity theft, the root of the tree of Marika has never changed. We
That's
are
right.
the root of the tree. So without us, there is no America.
Exactly.
But they're trying to pretend like they can do it without us. No, mm-mm. So
How can the people get the information? Is there a place they go to?
yes, we have our government page is Kusa Nation of North America USA, and you can it's an open page. You can go there. I'm going to actually start uploading some things this evening so that we can make it's important for our for our notices to be public. And they do watch our pages. They do watch. They do visit our pages. They listen to the things that we do because we could tell a lot of times by just their reactions and the things that they start coming up with. So they do watch us. So it's important to make it public. So we are making it public. um, I can be reached at chief bluefeather at outlook.com. And we also have a school platform on Google that I will be posting it there. And we're going to make all the PDFs and the documents available so that, it could be shared, within our community.
Well, cool. Well, thank you for sharing with us tonight. That's some information that I thought we ought to get out. And, since we're all going through, everybody's seeing this COVID push, just some information that everybody should know. And I thank you for sharing that with us.
Oh, thank you. I'm honored that you asked me to come, and whatever we can do to help each other. Um, and that was one of the things I did suggest tonight too, with all the organizations and nations and bands and clans that are doing work. It's just that we need to advocate for each other. Make phone calls, and if you find yourself in a bind, we do advocacy as well. All of our services are free, and we'll be there. We just got to show up for each other. When we start showing up for each other, then they'll know you have to respect our house.
There you go. So, sister, thank you for joining us tonight and sharing. One more thing, could you please spell the website again? How people get in touch with you?
We haven't put our website back up yet, but you can get in touch with us on Facebook, Kusa Nation of North America USA. You can inbox us. You can inbox me as on Facebook as well, Mose Lyric. Some of y'all know me as Mose Lyric. And you can also email me at chief-bluefeather at outlook.com. Or you can call us. We have a call button on Facebook as well. That number is 678-752-8455. And we're pretty good at, returning calls as soon as we get them. So you can just get in touch with us if you come into a bind or need assistance with, advocating for, this issue. And we'll just do the best that we can to support you.
Okay, can I have that 678 number one more time?
That's 678-752-8455. 84.
7555.
Yes.
Cool.
Chief, before you end, there's one more thing on all these mandates, and I saw it today with my own eyes. It was mandatory vaccines at a government level, but every word inside there, please read it because it says we recommend. If it says you recommend, you have a choice.
Right.
That's right.
Remember
Absolutely.
that. Read whatever documents they put in front of you because the government document said it was mandated. But when you read it, it says we recommend.
Yes. Check the words, check out the words they using against you.
Yeah, check the wordplay. That was a good point, Aki.
Yeah. Check the wordplay. So, Chief, this Blue Feather, I want to say thank you. I know you had a long day tonight. I don't want to keep you long. So, thank you.
Thank you. I got to eat though. I did get to eat. I had to break down and get the vittles in, boy.
I know that's right, baby. Well, cool. Well, thank you for joining us tonight.
And thank you for having a platform, Brother Kerry. I mean, this is what we need, and just thank you for always, doing something like this because, we need these type of outlets to be able to speak and have safe spaces to communicate, you know.
Most deaf.
So I appreciate you and thank you, sisters and my brother Aki. I appreciate y'all so much.
Okay, well, cool. Well, you have a good night, and we'll chat soon.
Yes, I
Okay.
shall. I
Good night,
shall.
everyone.
Okay. Well, hey. Well, this is another episode of African Americans Ain't Africans. I want to thank everybody for joining us tonight. Listen, there's information out there for us. We have to know. We have to know. We can't be walking around here not knowing nothing. The system brought up the Nuremberg Trials, the Tuskegee experiments. We have to know these things. That shit is not ancient history. We must know these things. So get on that knowledge, do some research on your people, where your people from, where the towns and villages that they lived in the South or where in the mountains, wherever they live. Do some research on your folks. You would be surprised what you'll find. I'm the Indigenous one. Thank you guys for joining us tonight, and we'll see you next time. Peace.